Konnichiwa Mina, and here is week 11 of the 2018 DCFL season. As we begin the week, we look at the week 10 standings from last week. Right now, it's still the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions number 1 at 8-2, Seattle Tenyo number 2 at 7-3, number 3 is Jacksonville at 6-4, and then the 4th spot belongs to Pittsburgh Power at 5-5, as they have the tiebreaker over everyone. And of course, Chicago has then the next tiebreaker, then New York, then Baltimore, then last is Phoenix, then the Charlotte Bobcats right behind them at 4-6, and last place is still Oakland, winless at 0-10. So now we take a look at the schedule for week 11 with a lot of big games, as we start off with the Baltimore Charm visiting the Chicago Staleys. That has playoff implications. Then the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions visiting the Charlotte Bobcats as they're trying to keep up ahead of Seattle. Then the Jacksonville Scouts visiting the Phoenix Devils. That's another big game with playoff implications. And then the New York Gangsters visiting the Pittsburgh Power, as that will have playoff implications. And then we finish off the week with the Seattle Tenyo visiting the Oakland Pillagers. So we start off with the Baltimore Charm visiting the Chicago Staleys in their rematch from earlier in the year when Chicago went into Baltimore and beat them. Tough loss for Baltimore last week as they got swept by New York, trying to avoid getting swept by Chicago and having two teams with the ultimate tiebreaker against them. Meanwhile, Chicago lost to Jacksonville last week, trying to keep up and catch up with Pittsburgh in the playoff race and to get a tiebreaker over a division foe. And Chicago would get in a close one, 34-31, as both teams fought really hard in this game. But of course, my Baltimore Charm had to throw 3 interceptions, which really ruined it right there, and just couldn't seal the deal. So, 2 losses in a row, and now 2 ultimate tiebreaker defeats to New York and Chicago. That's definitely not good for my Charm. But with this win, Chicago now has the 4th seed right now in the playoff bracket. Let's see if they can keep it up for the week, though. Then we go down south to Charlotte, as the Charlotte Bobcats host the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions, as the Stallions suffered a tough loss last week at home to Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, Charlotte has looked really good these last 2 weeks, getting 2 big victories to get back within contention of the teams in the the wild card rounds, pretty much. Trying to get another win here to get right back in the mix, as Indianapolis is trying to win to keep ahead of Seattle for the number 1 seed. And Indianapolis would dominate 40-13, as it was close going into the 4th quarter, but then Indianapolis scored 16 unanswered points, as you see right there, as they almost actually got less yards than Charlotte, just barely getting enough. And they suffered 6 sacks, 2 an interception, and 2 forced fumbles from Charlotte. But the Indianapolis got 4 sacks themselves, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. So it was pretty much a defensive rout near the end. And of course, with that victory, they secured the number 1 seed for another week, as they don't have to worry about Seattle for right now. And another tough loss for Charlotte after making 2-game improvement the last 2 weeks. Then we go out to Phoenix, as the Phoenix Devils host the Jacksonville Scouts. Jacksonville trying to win to maintain that 3rd seed and maybe get the 4th seed if Seattle loses tonight. And of course, Phoenix, who beat Jacksonville earlier this year, trying to win right here to get the ultimate sweep against them for the season to get right back in the playoff mix. As with a win here, they would get the 4th seed over Chicago at the moment. But Jacksonville would get it in a close one, 31-19. As soon as Jacksonville scored, Phoenix was right behind them to score again, as Jacksonville held the lead just barely throughout the game, as they improved to 7-4 to maintain their 3rd seed. And if Seattle loses this week, they'll move up to the 2nd seed, as Phoenix suffered another loss as they moved down into the bracket for the playoff picture. Then we go up to Pittsburgh, as it's a battle between 500 teams. The New York Gangsters visiting the Pittsburgh Power, as New York won last week to get back at 500. Meanwhile, holy crap, Pittsburgh out of nowhere, winning 2 in a row on the road in Indianapolis and Seattle, the top 2 teams in the league. Holy crap, they're really in good shape to walk away with that last seed in the playoffs if they keep it up. And of course, if they beat New York today, they will maintain their 4th seed lead. And Pittsburgh would do it again, 30-27, as New York led into the 4th quarter, where Pittsburgh scored 10 unanswered points. Oh my goodness, New York outplayed Pittsburgh, but they had four fumbles. Oh my goodness, that really helped Pittsburgh right there get the convincing win right there. As another close win, they now maintain their 4th seed lead in the playoff bracket. Holy crap, what an unbelievable turnaround Pittsburgh Power has made. 3-5, looked like they were going nowhere, to 6-5 and back into the playoff bracket as New York falls off again. Then we finish off the week with the Seattle Tenyo visiting the Oakland Pillagers, as Seattle suffered 2 losses at home. How embarrassing, as they got to visit the only winless team in the league, trying to win to keep their second place lead over Jacksonville and to be still within 1 game of Indianapolis for that number 1 seed, since they still have the tiebreaker over them. And of course, Oakland is trying to get their first win of the season and to still remain in the playoff race. Oakland would get it though, 21-10, as Seattle scored 10 points going in the first half, but were shut out in the second half as Oakland scored 21 unanswered points, as Seattle's offense could do literally nothing in the second half. I mean nothing. They barely even got 300 yards of offense. So wow, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, 10 more yards than Oakland, so they got more yards than Oakland, and they still couldn't get the win. Wow, what an embarrassing loss this is, as Miami is probably on suicide watch right now for this devastating loss, because not only is this utterly embarrassing, she has now fallen to 3rd place as Jacksonville now takes over as the 2nd seed in the playoffs. And with that, Week 11 is in the books as we now take a look at the standings, as of course Indianapolis still has the number 1 seed now with a 2-game lead, as Jacksonville now moved up to the 2nd seed, and Seattle's fallen down to the 3rd seed, and Pittsburgh still maintains their 4th seed as they have the tiebreaker over Chicago. And New York has the tiebreaker over Baltimore and Phoenix, the head-to-head victories. And of course, my Charm have the head-to-head victory over Phoenix right now, as Charlotte still is the 9th place team, and Oakland now with a win, but still dead last in the division. And there's a little minor playoff elimination scenario, and that's if Oakland loses to Indianapolis next week and Jacksonville and Seattle both win. Oakland will be prohibited from getting the number 1 through 3 seed, but they can still sneak into the playoffs as the 4th seed right now, regardless if they lose and Pittsburgh or Chicago or both of them win. So then we go look to the Week 12 schedule, as there's playoff implications everywhere. We start off with the Pittsburgh Power visiting the Baltimore Charm. That's going to be big. The Charlotte Bobcats visits the New York Gangsters. That's big because depending on who wins, we could start seeing the teams that definitely would probably be eliminated by now. The Phoenix Devils visit the Chicago Staleys. That's big, especially since Phoenix has a tiebreaker. They can take the lead over Chicago there. Oakland Pillagers visiting the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions for the lopsided game of the week. And then the big one, Jacksonville visiting Seattle with the number 2 seed on the line, as Jacksonville could probably secure it for good if they sweep Seattle. And with that, Week 11 is in the books. I cannot wait for Week 12, so see you then for Week 12.